On today's episode, we have our friend Perng Hutson, a positive light in the surf community and all-around lovely human. We discuss the changes she has seen at Mckevlins Surf Shop over the years, her surf life, and winning a trip to the surf ranch. Enjoy. This episode is brought to you by Head High Studio, a gallery studio in the heart of downtown Charleston, the brightest walls in the city. In the studio now is Check It with Andy Davis and John Wegner, featuring original art and handcrafted surfboards by two Southern California legends. It's on view until June 26. Gallery hours are Fridays 4 to 7 or by appointment. If you missed the opening night, it's really cool that you can still go see this. Come check it. Head High Studio, 654 King Street. And welcome back. No, I'm just kidding. So to start out, what's a skimboard? No. All right. I realized we're going to start. All right. I realized this year that I've been riding for Mckevlins Surf Shop for like 16 or 17 years.
That's wild.
So I've been there a long time. How long have you been at Mckevlins?
This year's 18 years.
Yeah. So
almost 2 decades.
You were there.
I was there.
Yeah. I feel like Mckevlins or any surf shop's a big part of the way people interact with surfing.
Yeah.
That might be where they got their first surfboard, or I mean, yeah, that's probably the start of their surfing journey. Mckevlins has gone through, it's the same, but it's changed a lot in 18 years since you've been there.
Yeah.
What was your first, were you like, I'm just going to apply at Mckevlins, or how did that even start?
That's funny. I actually had just graduated college from Rollins in Orlando, and my friend had originally asked me to move up here, and we came and took a trip and hung out downtown, and then we took a trip to Folly one day, and I was like sold that day on Folly. And we had gone into Mckevlins that day, got a bathing suit maybe, I think. And then I still did graduate college, so I had been thinking about moving to Folly for so long, from then on.
Were you already surfing?
Yeah, but not nearly as much as, not consistently. Yeah. But, so we graduated, her and I talked about it, and we were like, we're moving to Folly, that's it. And then she backed out last minute, but I was like, no, I'm still moving.
Nice.
I will be stuck in my parents' house.
Yeah.
Till I'm like 30 or 40 if I stay in Orlando. So needed a little independence. So my mom and I took a trip up here to look for places to live, and we stayed at the Tides, which wasn't the Tides, it was the Holiday Inn.
Holiday Inn, yeah.
Yep. So we stayed there, and as we were walking by Mckevlins, they had a sign on there, hiring. So
cool.
I walked in and applied, and that was it for a little while. And then they called me 2 weeks later, and I was in Orlando. But
so, how from then till now, with how much Charleston's grown, what's the big difference you see in working there?
Yeah. Well, when I started, it was probably maybe 10 people working, and that included Tim.
Yeah.
And I would say from then to now is a huge difference. There's several points, but I would say the amount of people that come in on a daily basis is probably triple, maybe more than that, per person in the shop.
Yeah.
It's back in the day, it was more time to get to know your employees and hang out. It was more of a hangout back then. Mm-hmm. Now it's more we are talking more and more to people and interacting more and more with people.
Do you still have the days where it's just a lot of local people coming through and hanging out? Because that's what it seemed to be a lot of the time.
Back in the day, yeah. I would say not as much, but you still have people. We know our locals. It's still the same people. We're just getting older, and they're getting older. I think some of the tourists that come on a yearly basis, they're becoming not locals, but you're getting to know them too. Yeah, regulars for sure.
That's true. Speaking of that, I feel like Mckevlins kind of has a lot of anyone who comes to town kind of comes through Mckevlins.
Yeah.
I feel like either I hear stories or you guys post about it sometimes of like famous people or musicians.
Right.
Do you have any good ones?
Yeah, well, today, which I wasn't there, but today Andy Davis and John Wagner came by for the Check It art show this weekend. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
And Andy Davis actually did one of our anniversary T-shirts a little while ago. So it's cool for him to come and see the shop and interact with him. But we've had several people. Bill Murray used to come through.
Yeah. Would he buy stuff?
He actually he had a house on Folly for a while, so he was coming pretty regularly with his kids. And
that might help us answer a question, because in a podcast that our listeners have already heard, we're wondering, there's a rumor of a certain house that was Bill Murray's, but do you know? You probably don't know.
I don't know which one was his. I just know it was around the washout.
Okay.
So
that might answer it.
It's all secrets.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, we have had
like Jimmy Buffett pretty much lived in Mckevlins.
You know what? I only saw him one time.
Oh, really?
But when he came through, it was like red carpet came out, and just from people knowing who he was.
Yeah.
And like he would walk through, he's just acting normal.
Heads, yeah.
Yeah, and everybody was like, oh my God. And it was like everybody would just step aside for him, and he's just walking through, no big deal. But everybody's like, is that who I think it is?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, but don't ask too many questions. Just let them be, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, we've had several celebrities. We had, I don't know her last name, but Hannah from, her name's Moon on Cobra Kai came through recently.
Oh, really? Cool.
That was cool.
Yeah.
She had a dog with her, so it was easy to like talk to her, and she was really nice. But
that's funny.
Yeah.
I feel there's always boards in Mckevlins, and as a kid, I was like, has Kelly Slater been here? Because of that one board that hangs up.
People still ask about that.
Yeah. Surfboards wise, what do you think you guys sell the most of? It seems like what fishes and fun shapes have become more of what is the common thing.
Well, yeah, I think when I started, it was mostly shortboards, but also it's cyclical. So at the time when I started, shortboards were kind of the rage. Everybody wanted to look as radical as Kelly Slater and Andy Irons. And then now that it's become more prevalent for everyone, we're progressing in the sense that like you don't need to have a little potato chip to ride. Well, actually, you can't really ride our waves with a little potato chip.
Yeah.
But so I'd say fishes, mid-lengths. Fun shapes are definitely our number one. And then I'd say like longboards have really become a thing too.
Yeah.
With the longboard culture.
Wish you probably could like hold more longboards in the shop, or is it a pretty good flow of?
It's a pretty good flow. I mean, if we had more room, maybe.
Yeah. They're so beautiful sitting in the back.
They're more of like an art.
Yeah.
Like a art piece than a longboard sometimes, but
yeah.
They're meant to be ridden, so.
It's definitely like, it seems like a big purchase, but I bet that's people's like favorite day. And when they get a brand new longboard like that.
They're so stoked.
Yeah.
That's the best part, I think, of selling a board is the stoke. Is when somebody's so excited to get out in the water and excited about their new purchase.
I feel like I've even heard more recently, like some people have never even longboarded just because that purchase might be too big, or they drive a Honda Civic, so they
that's right. It's hard to put in there,
But longboarding is such a fundamental part of it, and it helps with our waves so much. And you longboard a lot.
I longboard a lot more than I used to. Yeah. It's just you can get way more days on a longboard out here, and I think it helps your shortboarding. I think that the timing helps on a longboard.
Yeah.
Reading the waves helps. I think it's interesting because we've kind of been through all the cycles where for a while it was traditional shortboards, then it was quads for a while, then there was mini Simmons for a while, which is like a longboard cut in half if you think about it. And like I said, now we're on fishes and but the trend is kind of starting to go back to more traditional shortboards, I feel like.
You guys probably get asked so many times no pop outs.
Yeah.
How important has it been to even then have like local shapers come through, or bigger shapers, but that kind of, hold that motto of no pop outs?
So.
And are you tired of answering that question? No pop outs.
I'm not tired of answering that question. I think that our core value is still no pop outs. I think the idea of no pop outs has changed a tiny bit. Before it was 100% hand shaped. Now most companies, like every company has a CNC machine.
Yeah.
And there's pros and cons for that, right? Like your board is more likely to be even with the CNC machine, or less likely to have any kind of mishap. But all the companies that we have, they're hand shaping it at the end.
Yeah.
So, you're cutting the blank out with the CNC machine, but then you're hand shaping it. And then somebody's there pouring the resin on and doing all the artwork. I think it's interesting. Actually, the other day somebody came in and was like, oh, I got this board from another surf shop and I hate it. It's a pop out. Right? And you don't hear that often anymore. And then also on the other extreme side, somebody will come in and be like, you guys don't have any pop outs, and they're kind of sarcastic and they think they're pulling one on us, but it's just, we stand with we don't want it to be mass produced, because the value of custom ordering something or how you want it to be exactly what you want, like you said, you've had 3 or 4 rocket wides, right? Like you love that board.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to tweak it slightly, you still can.
Yeah, you could actually talk to someone out there
at the factory and like get it a 1/4 of an inch down a little bit, right? Like
that's really cool.
So in that sense, if it does go to one company or one big conglomerate company, and then they become all mass produced, there's no more of that, and then we're all just writing not really what we want, and we can't. I mean, the essence of surfing is like feeling this amazing ride, and then having the right equipment to feel what you want, or how you want it. And I think that the having local shapers, that's another way to do it, because they're hand shaping them. And I think we have like 5 or 6 local shapers in Charleston that are all really great at their craft. And then there's even more, I'm sure, people who do it on their own or have dabbled in it, like you and Ellison. Yeah, people love supporting a local shaper as well. I feel like in Charleston, locals in general in Charleston, we all love, and that's part of the community, we all love supporting each other. I love that about this place, Part of what you were asking me earlier, like what's changed and what hasn't changed. I think that Mckevlins, we're really good at building connections with people. So people who are just coming in one time, or people who are coming in every year, once a year, or locals who just come in from time to time and hang out. I think that a lot of the draw is like you're hanging out in a surf shop, you have this idea of it, and then the people who are working there, if we connect with you, that's going to bring you back more and more. And you get stoked on all the stuff there, but we become friends too. It's part of the community. The only thing we need to bring back is the movie section in Mckevlins. I wish it could. I know. But we don't have. Everything's so digital now. Yeah. And they're like 20-minute videos instead of, gosh, some of those were like hour and a half sometimes. Yeah, you'd take a nap halfway through a movie and then start or you'd have like movie days, right? Yeah. So you'd have. So to explain to someone who doesn't know, there was a wall of movies was VHS, then DVDs. That's right. And you guys were the Blockbuster. We were on it because we would know what surf videos would come out or were coming out, and we'd be on it. Like, we need at least one. Yeah. We'd sell a couple here and there, but we always had. I think we had one of each for a while. But you could rent, and what was the deal? So you'd have to sign up to be part of the movie club. Yeah. And you'd have this little card that showed that you were a member of the club, and then we would have it all laid out, and you'd pick out your, the DVD case, you'd pick it out, you'd give it to us, and then we'd give you the actual DVDs in it. But I think you could rent, it was $3 every day per movie, if you ever rented 3, you'd get the 4th one for free, and then
Yeah.
Tuesdays and Thursdays were dollar days, and those are the days everybody came in, especially
a new movie.
specific people would come in. Those were the only times they would rent.
Yeah.
But it was a good way to get people to come in.
I would read the back cover, and it was a big decision. I was like, this weekend,
That's right. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, hyped on watching surf movies.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of, that was a big part of getting us into making a movie.
That's right.
And then eventually we had a movie on y'all's wall of DVDs. It was really cool.
You had 2.
Yeah.
You had 2.
I just wanted to mention the renting movies is a pretty funny thing to think about now.
Waves in Our Pocket was the first one, right?
Yep.
And then Look to the Tropics?
Yep.
That's right.
Those are like 10 years old as well.
Are they?
Yeah.
Local movies. It's like, it's all part of the community, but you're also bringing people in and like, that's my friend in the movie. Oh my gosh, I know Brian and Nelson. They made that movie, It gives you that connection just even closer to like home.
And that's kind of what we're doing now with this is like, we don't have the time to make one specific movie, and then with social media, it's easier to just kind of put things across over time, and then hearing stories is, you can tell longer stories through something like a podcast than in a part in a movie.
Yep.
And then I love hearing behind the scenes stuff.
Right.
And so this kind of does that.
You guys should make a blooper too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that'd be really funny. These are memories that maybe people are gonna forget, or they might get dementia or something, but you'll be able to be brought back to that moment 10, 20, 15 years ago, like where you maybe didn't remember at the time, but then all of a sudden it's nostalgic,
Are surfers post the most of themselves in photos than it? Like, no soccer players just like every time they get off the field, they're posting like,
that's a good point,
blowing up a photographer. Did you get that shot of
definitely me? We're definitely like, let me see that. I need to see how I look.
If there's like a day of waves, the next day on Instagram's like
poor Justin probably gets like, hey man, did you get that photo of me? Do you have a photo of me?
So we're gonna have him on the podcast, and that's my number one question, is ask him how he deals with getting blown up.
He's definitely sent me a couple of being like, this person really wants photos. I'm like, oh, it's good though. Good for him, you know. They know you're out there.
But we all
want them. We all want to see them. It's hard, but I don't know about you. A lot of times I'll see photos of myself if I get some. Half the time I'm like, that was not how it felt. That is not what I thought I looked like.
My feet aren't on the board still. Why'd you send me that photo?
Or like what I guess what I do unconsciously, my fingers are always pointed like this.
Oh, yeah.
When I'm longboarding, I'm always pointing at something. I don't know what I'm pointing at.
Yeah, a lot of people probably don't know what they do with their hands, and then they find out when they see
I have a friend who has the chicken wing.
Yeah.
The one arm is always up like this.
Yeah.
It's funny.
We all have our styles. Yeah.
Within the last 5 years, well, let me put it this way. You guys are a great example. When you guys lived on the beach, it was more family oriented at that point, more renters, like long-term renters. And so at that point, there were a lot of Groms coming into the shop all the time. You guys, McHenry and Griffin, Sylvia and Rose, and all your friends. So back in the day, there was a lot more hanging out.
Yeah.
And kids were hanging out, which is great because you get that young energy in the shop. And then you guys are really excited about like, oh my gosh, look at all the surfboards and what's all this stuff. And, so for a while it was really cool. We would have, like one example would be Sylvia and Rose would bring in, there's probably like 6 or 10 girls that were like 10 to 12. And then at that time, I think the cool thing was to learn whatever dance was part of a song. So they would like come in and video themselves in the surf shop doing the dance, or you guys would just hang out and talk to us forever. Mm-hmm. I miss that.
Yeah.
Because there's not that much anymore of that. Yeah. And actually, there is a new group of local kids coming in now too that are that age, 14, but they don't they don't live on the beach.
Yeah.
So they get dropped off, and then in a couple hours they get picked up, and so they might walk through the shop, but it's not like it used to be where all
But
the
my
dogs
thing
would
was
hang
like,
out.
I would ride my bike to Mckevlins, throw it under the store,
Yeah.
and I would post up for a while.
Yeah. I mean,
that was
that's
a
how
part
we
of-
got to know you
yeah.
guys.
It was like after school, that was part of my program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I know I miss that. I miss
Mm-hmm.
that part. I mean, I get that the last 5 years, I understand it's more short-term rentals, and there's still really cool families coming through, but
Yeah.
you don't quite get to know the kids nearly as much, and I think that part was, I didn't realize that until I was thinking about it, that was a pretty big part for
Yeah.
a long time, you know? That's really, it's interesting to me because now you guys are all grown up,
Yeah, Groms are definitely a big part of the whole thing.
right?
They might work at the surf shop next,
Yeah, and that young energy and that perspective, which I've been there for 18 years, so sometimes I feel like everything's a little stale for me. So then you have like new energy, new perspective. I don't know.
Longboard days are definitely like happier days.
Yeah.
Like, I'll see a huge group of you girls out there, or the whole crew, that when it's a longboard day, like
Yeah.
everyone's smiling.
If you think about it, when the waves are good and you're
Yeah.
shortboarding, you get way more angry about somebody dropping in on you,
Yeah.
even if it was accidental. But on a longboard or on a smaller day and it's sunny out, like there's no care in the world,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
You know?
It's way more fun.
Right.
Yeah. Is that your ideal day? Longboarding?
I don't know if that's ideal. I
Yeah.
still want a
You-
shortboard, but reasonably here, I think.
Yeah.
I have, like I said, I have a really good time. I've even, there's days where Tony's like, "You're taking a longboard out?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. I just really feel like longboarding."
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a challenge too when it's a little bit bigger to see what I can do.
Who's the crew that you mainly surf with? Your husband, Tony,
Yeah.
who rips.
He rips. He rips on like the smallest, squattiest board ever.
Yeah.
Tony, I've got Kate, obviously, I surf with a lot, and we'll surf really crappy, trashy days just to get out there.
Yeah.
So I'd say she's my like go-to partner always in the water, but then you've got my girls like Maria, and Sarah Savoy is one of the girls that I'll go and surf
Yeah.
with. It's more of like Chris Kemp. I just have like people that I call or text. Ellison.
We kind of all have that person that is like, if you just need to go for a surf.
Yeah, somebody to hold you
Yeah.
accountable.
Yeah.
You're like, if I know you're gonna go, I'll show up.
Yeah.
Glenn Tanner and I've been texting a lot more, being like, "Hey, are you going out? Okay, cool. I'll go out too."
Nice.
But that guy goes out all the time.
Yeah.
Now
He
that
was
he's
gonna be
retired,
out
he's
there
like, "I'll be
anyway."
there." Yeah. So I find it on days when it's looks like this, where it's windy and it might not be the best condition, I still feel better if I get in the water.
Yes.
So I always want to be in the water. So if I can have one other person with me, then it's way more fun to surf with a friend than alone anyways. So.
Yeah. That's definitely the best feeling, is right after surfing, you're like, oh, I feel so much better.
You washed all your worries away, and now you can go about your day.
Yeah.
It's the best way to wake up, start your day.
I feel like the Wahini's huge.
Yeah, it's growing every year.
There's like,
Every
you'll
year.
have like 3 beaches going.
Yeah.
No, like
We've-
2. And I mean,
It's
there's
like
a ton of
8
girls.
to like 5 both days now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think last year or this year, like I know that Nicole, the director, has had to cap it, which
Yeah.
says a lot, you know.
Yeah,
like,
which is, I mean, that's a good problem.
But I think Folly Beach in general has been growing the female surf population for a while, and it's really cool to see. You know, everybody supports each other. Most people support each other.
Yeah.
And you know, what's the saying? Power in groups? No. I don't know what.
Yeah.
Something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like the more people you have, the more easier it is to go out. And there's like a whole new community group called She's on Edge that Liz from the surf shop and another woman named Nadia run.
Oh, cool.
And they just get a bunch of girls together and surf like once a month.
Yeah.
Or skate. But it's good. Like that's the type of community we need. You know?
Yeah, it's been cool seeing more, like that, or then there's board riders.
That's
and
right.
So there's more groms surfing together.
It's just like the up and coming new groups. I feel like you guys had your group as groms, and now the new groms are the board riders club. And I think my favorite thing about like seeing young girls coming up, like Georgia Brown's in that group, right, where they're like that 14 to 18, and it's kind of intimidating as a young girl, or as a girl in general. For a while it was, but I know a lot more people now, so it's not as intimidating. But I see them out and they cheer for each other, and they're cheering each other on and supporting and telling each other to go on bigger waves. Cool. It's really cool to see that. Like, they're having a good time and smiling and doing it, you know, and they're charging.
And then Georgia Brown surfs better than most guys.
She'll go on the big waves, you know. I've seen her in another country going for it too, and you're like, oh, all right, I'll just get out of the way so you can go. And
then Gromfest.
I think that's my favorite contest to just even hang out at. I am obviously working at that, but it's more of like hanging out at that contest and just getting to know the kids and seeing them be competitive, but also see them support each other. And, you know, in a contest when you're a kid, you have this idea that you're going to win, and then you get there and you're like, oh, wait, there are all these other kids that could also be good, you know? So it's cool to see that progression and how they deal with that and handle it.
Yeah, I think it helps a lot of kids get better, but then everyone's having so much fun.
Oh my gosh, the push and surf?
Yeah, so the push and surf looks dangerous.
Last year's was so dangerous. I don't know how parents are okay with it.
Yeah, but so Mayla, my daughter's first contest is gonna be Gromfest.
All right. This year?
Yep, this year.
Okay.
Yep, she'll be under 2 years old, so.
I think
I might wear a helmet.
You should. I think the parents need to. Maybe the kids also need to. Yeah. I want to say our friend Penny might have been the youngest before, so Mayla might be the youngest this coming up now. That's
that would be
awesome.
Cool.
She loves surfing, obviously. Yeah. That's the Grom in the making right there.
Yep. We'll
Gromette.
see. I've never won an online contest. I've never won a raffle, but
nuh-uh. Ever?
The one time I've won a raffle, it was a belt at a surf contest.
A belt?
Yeah, like a...
They were trying to tell you something that your shorts weren't fitting or something?
Yeah, so
that's
I was
funny.
like, okay, great. And then other people win like 3 surfboards. But anyway, you won probably the best contest there is.
It was unbelievable, really.
Yeah, so that was a contest to go to Kelly Slater's surf ranch.
That's right.
And like a day and a half of surfing there, kind of.
Yes. So it's a day and a half, a full day, which is 12 hours, and I think it's 5 hours in the evening. So we started in the evening. I forget, it was I think a Sunday night, and then they put you up in a hotel nearby, and then the whole next day. That was a really fun video to make with a friend of mine who's a really talented photographer and videographer, Brennan Wesley. I think you might know him.
Cool.
But I mean, Brennan had a really good idea and he had a whole vision, so we just went with it. And then, I mean, that was such a surprise for me, like, and showing how much the community does help each other out, because it was a lot of like, I needed a lot of votes, and people were so nice to like vote and repost for me, and
you were like the #1 name online for a couple of months. Like that probably had to been weird asking people to vote more and more, but totally worth it.
Yeah. And I guess for my thinking is like, I can ask, and if they don't want to, they don't have to. Maybe I was thinking too that I don't know if I would ever win. Like you just don't think that way, you know?
Yeah.
So it doesn't hurt to ask. But everyone
So did they
amazing.
just call you or email you? Like, I've never won anything. How does this work?
So actually the rules said that somebody would get in touch with you either by phone or by email. I was at the tail end of COVID, so I was sitting at home, and I got a phone call, and it said Anaheim, California. But I don't pick up phone calls that I don't know, like numbers I don't know, so I was like, oh, I don't know. And then they left a message, and so when I listened to it, I mean, I didn't have that much energy, but I was bouncing around at home because I knew what that meant, you know, if they called. But I called them back and they were like, how's it going? And I'm like, oh, good. Are you guys calling for a specific reason? You know, like, I don't know how to.
Yeah.
They were like, well, you won. And there was 10 winners.
Oh, okay.
So
wow.
I was one of the 10.
Wow.
It's kind of a dream, really.
Yeah. And then, like, how long before it actually happened?
I feel like they called me in August. And it was a month after that, after the call. Yeah. So I was supposed to go to Boston to go to a Wu-Tang Clan concert. I canceled that to go to Surf Ranch.
Nice. And then just like when I saw the clips, once again, the community was like so amped to see you. I mean, you know, that's kind of everyone's dream. That's like the ultimate wave pool. How was it?
It's surreal when you step in. One, it's huge. It's 500 yards. Like the pool itself is 500 yards.
That's huge.
Yeah, so I guess 5 football fields.
Yeah.
And you probably surf 400 of it if you make it all the way from the beginning to end.
Wow.
So it's a lot of information all at once because they sit you down, you get fed dinner, and they sit you down and they explain, like, there were 20 of us. So they put you in what they call heats. So it's like 5 to 6 people in the pool at the same time. And then they have their own system of working out how they were going to get you to go, who goes where and who goes when. So it's just, until you're in the water, you really don't know how to feel about it. You're just like frothing and like watching.
Was the first wave just terrifying?
Yeah, so for me, actually, I didn't get to ride my first wave until probably like after being in the water like 10, 20 minutes. So other people are going. So that first wave that came through was terrifying. It was so big and so much water coming through. And then you have that train, that sound. This is a lot of sound and noise at the same time. So it just took a while to get used to, but it's a lot easier to take off on than it looks.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's probably a sigh of relief as it comes, you know, you're like, oh, it's just surfing again.
Well, it's interesting because I think everybody had their own like idea of what was going to happen, and there are 4 different waves that you can pick from. So you pick a wave, and then that's what you're riding, right? So there's one with a barrel in the middle, one with the open face, and then the barrel at the end. So that was a little bit more like Folly. I felt like it's like a faster wave at the end, faster barrel. And then one that's a longboard wave, and one that they say that you can work on your air game at the end. I think most people stuck with the open face and barrel at the end, or the barrel in the beginning. You only get technically a certain amount of waves, like 6 or 8 waves altogether.
Oh, wow.
So I just wanted to stay on the wave and not fall.
Yeah.
And then we'll just see what happens afterwards, you know?
Yeah, because if you fall...
You're mad.
Yeah.
I was mad.
Yeah.
I fell on one. I got kind of like too comfortable on it and got hung up at the top and fell off. And I was like, I just wasted it.
I feel like that happens
I wasted
to a lot
wave,
of people.
You know?
Dang. Yeah. Do you feel like well, I guess 8 waves, that's not that much.
It's not that much.
Yeah.
But in each heat is an hour or close to an hour.
So you're out there seeing waves and then...
Right.
Yeah.
And then if somebody falls on the wave, if you're in priority, then you get to pick up that wave. So essentially I ended up surfing 15 waves while I was there.
Oh, cool.
So almost double what I was given.
So you and your husband went to New Zealand for a month.
Yeah.
That is not a trip that everyone just does.
No.
You know?
Going to New Zealand for a month is, you know, a luxury I don't think a lot of people get to take, but luckily for me, Tim let me have it.
Yeah.
And when we were there, Raglan was going off that first week we were there. And once I surfed one of those waves, it just kind of clicked for me. Like I'm pretty sure Surf Ranch is built off of, I don't know, but it seems like the perfect wave there is similar to New Zealand's waves. We normally go to like Central America, Costa Rica. I turned 40 this year, so, you know, you got to plan your trips out. So if you maybe mention you want to do something different, unless you plan it, you're never going to do it. So I felt like this would be the time. We found some really inexpensive tickets to New Zealand. So, and if we're going that far, you need to spend.
Yeah.
We wanted to spend more than just 2 weeks there. So I got a month off, and the only reason we went is because I planned it. I don't think we would have ever gone if you don't, you know?
Yeah. So are the waves, like, they're that good?
Yeah, I mean, we got skunked in a couple places, but yeah, I would say every spot we went to except for one was big, rolly, mellow takeoffs. And, you know, like here, you take off and you got to speed down the line.
Yeah.
Most of the time. There, it was like you couldn't get to the bottom first. You had to highline it first. This is just a different way of thinking. And it's kind of similar in Surf Ranch was like that. You can't outrun it. If you outrun it, you're done. So, and here I feel like we're always trying to run as fast as we can.
Yeah.
Surf as fast as we can, or you're not going to make it, right? So it's just a different way of thinking. But yeah, I was amazed by how many people were riding all different boards when I would have thought it would have been like traditional shortboards.
And it's just beautiful.
Oh my gosh. Dramatic and beautiful at the same time. Mountains on one side, but not just like, you know, in Costa Rica there's mountains on one side and it's like lush green, but this is like open plains, big mountain. Like it looks like the Simpsons clouds everywhere. It's so crazy. And then you'd have cows right by the water. Yeah. Is just nothing I've ever seen.
Seeing that, I'm definitely like, plan your trips.
Yes.
That looks amazing.
Yeah. I would say if you go to the same places all the time, that's awesome. But like get outside of your comfort zone and try something different. Like if we hadn't done that, we would never know.
Yeah.